Welcome everybody to Indic seminars in Toronto. Today we have Parag Bhalerao here with us. He is fascinated by spirituality and loves to study ancient literature and provide a scientific perspective on what he reads and studies and delves into deeper meanings of what our ancients have written down and produced. Today's presentation is focusing on really a book he recently published really 2 days ago on Purusha Sukta Demystified, which reflects on the scientific knowledge in our literature, specifically on this sukta or hymn. And and according to Paragji, let's see how it comes up after 45 minutes. He says, after studying this, after thinking about it, it gives him immense joy. Hopefully we get that little bit transferred to us as well today. So Paragji, over to you.
Definitely. Thank you. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Welcome everybody for this very exciting event. I'm sure I'm excited and you all will be as or more excited as we go through this journey of next 45 minutes. So we'll discuss few topics in about 45 minutes and then open up for questions. So if you have any questions, please make a note and we will discuss those towards end of the session today. Before we get into the topic itself, there is some background and some underlying information that I will like to share. We are going to talk about one of the sukta or one of the hymns in Vedic literature. And of course, as you see on the screen, it is Purusha Sukta. Purusha Sukta talks about creation of universe. Of course, in Vedic literature, there are multiple suktas, multiple descriptions about how the universe came about. But Purusha Sukta is probably most widely accepted, most commonly recited. When we do any rituals, most of the rituals follow Purusha Sukta or Shri Sukta in all of our activities. And many people chant it on a regular basis. This sukta also appears in every Ved. So it is there, all 4 Veds, if you see, this sukta appears in every Ved. There are some variations, but the mass portion, the major portion is same in all the Veds. So before we get into it, what is Ved? What is Purusha Sukta? And what are we talking about? Why are we talking about this? So as a lot of us know, we think there is a general understanding that Veds are our scriptures, our religious books. They talk about God, they talk about Hinduism, they talk about rituals. Well, yes and no. They do talk about some of those aspects. But if you understand the word Veda, Ved comes from a root word called Vid. Vid means to know, and Veda means knowledge. And we use that word with in various contexts in our day-to-day life also. Like a person who is very wealthy, we call him Dhanavan. He has a lot of dhana, so he becomes Dhanavan. Person who is very strong, he has a lot of bala, we call him Balavan. Same way, the person who has a lot of knowledge or a lot of vid, we call him Vidwan. Right? So this vid word, exactly same word, vid indicates knowledge and Veda indicates, so vid indicates to know and Veda indicates knowledge. Again, the word is Veda, not Veda. Okay, those are 2 different words, very commonly mispronounced, but Veda is wrong pronunciation, Veda is right word. Anyway, now when we talk about Ved, what is this Ved? Who wrote it? When did they write it? All those questions start popping up in our mind. And we won't go into too many details and we won't derail our conversation a lot. But exact date of when the Veds are written is really speaking unknown. There are a lot of scholars, they study Veds, and there are a lot of evidences of geographical evidences, river-based evidences, astronomical evidences, and things like that. So they study those evidences and come up with the date. But if you look at most common studies, the dates go back to 24,000 BCE. So even if there are discrepancies about the dates, definitely it's a very ancient literature, a very ancient scripture. And also there is a question about who wrote these Veds, and there is again most people think that Veda Vyasji or Maharshi Vyas wrote Ved. That is right, he wrote it in the text format, but he is not the author, he is not the person who actually wrote these mantras or discovered these mantras or formulated these mantras, whatever we want to say. Veds are said to be apaurushaya. Now again, our modern mind becomes very inquisitive, very agitated. How can it be apaurushaya? Apaurushaya is not man written or not man made. So how can it be not man made? If it is written, somebody must have written it, right? So that kind of question comes up in our Gnostic mind sometimes, scientific mind sometimes, practical mind sometimes, whatever. So it is not really, nobody wrote it and suddenly a paper appeared on the earth on which all the Veds were written. That is not how it is. Basically, multiple rishis, Veds are not written by one rishi, multiple rishis contributed to different mantras, different sections of the Ved. And what they say is, we did not really compose it. When we were in Samadhi state, those occurred to us. We heard those in the environment. And then we just kind of formulated and we just talked to other people, taught to other people, our disciples, and so on. So they were so humble, they did not take any credit. They never said, I wrote this. And that is why they are not supposed to be said that they are written by those rishis. And that is why they are called apaurushaya. For some of the mantras, some of the suktas, there is mention of the rishi who first heard that or who first uncovered or realized these mantras, and that rishi is called Drashta Rishi. Drashta Rishi for different mantras or suktas. And there are a lot of suktas that are not attributed to any rishi. Now, the Vedic literature has literally immense knowledge. You pretty much take a topic, it can be medicine, it can be agriculture, it can be Nyaya Shastra, it can be social studies, anything, there is wealth of knowledge available. We are going to focus on one aspect today, and that is creation of the universe. Now, it is important that we study, we discuss, and we understand this text in the context of creation of universe. It is, everybody agrees, any scholar that you talk to, they all agree that yes, Purusha Sukta talks about creation of universe. But then when they try to interpret it, they try to interpret it in spiritual way, religious way. They talk about God, they talk about different things. And many people, not all of them, but many people cannot relate their interpretation to the core topic of creation of the universe. Again, I'm going to use the word creation little loosely, because our belief says that it is not creation, it is manifestation. Okay, this entire thing existed, it just manifested in the form of universe that we perceive today. Okay, so without going into much of those background topics, we'll go and we'll start talking about the Purusha Sukta itself. Okay, now Purusha Sukta, we are going to discuss various aspects with scientific mindset and with the context of creation of universe. We are not going to talk about rituals and religion and things of that nature. We'll keep our focus very, very scientific. What is Purusha Sukta? Purusha, will see. Sukta is basically collection of some mantras. So few mantras, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, depending on different sukta. few mantras come together and form what we call it as Sukta. And the word Sukta itself says what it means. It is Su Ukta. Su is well, Ukta is said. So well said, or very well composed, or very informative, very good information is combined or mentioned in Sukta. What is mantra? Mantra is different than shlok. We will not go again into details, but most of the chanting that we do about different stutis of different gods, typically those are shloks. Even Bhagavad Gita, most common scripture, those are shloks. Whereas mantra has different context, different way. How do you say the mantra? You cannot sing a mantra like Gayatri mantra. You hear different people sing in different tune. That is not really right. There is specific guideline on how to pronounce a mantra. We'll come to important part is Purusha. What is Purusha? Now, in the general context, when we say Purusha, it is male human being, right? Typically, that is how we interpret the word Purusha, and that is the conventional, traditional meaning. But in this context, we are not talking about any human being. Definitely not the gender bias that it is, masculine or male dominated and no place for women or female, nothing like that. Purusha has nothing to do with humans or gender at all. We'll see how people interpret or break the word Purusha and what is the right way to interpret it, and then we'll understand what it means. So most scholars, again, if you read any literature, any explanation, any commentary, typically they break this word Purusha as Puri Shete or Puri Shayanat. Puri is world, universe, different contexts, you can take different meanings. A lot of people try to relate it to human body, and in that context, Pura means human body. So, and Shayanat is sleeping. So the one who is sleeping in the universe is Purusha, is very common interpretation. Now, when I tried to understand this, I thought about two things. One is, if it is sleeping, it won't be active. It won't help in creation. It won't help in sustenance, maintenance, growth, nothing. It is just sleeping. So maybe Shayanat is not, or sleeping is not the right meaning. Also, as you see on the screen, the red part of the text, there are two similar sounding alphabets, Sh and Sh. And for simple analogy, there is a Sh that we use in Shiva and a Sh that we use in Krishna. So here the Sh from Krishna is used and not Sh from Shiva. So Shayana uses Sh from Shiva, which is not a right Sh. So that interpretation seems to be incorrect. If you see right word Purusha, the Sh from Krishna, then it gives you different meaning. It gives you Pura Ushayati. Usha word we have heard, it is dawn or early morning time frame. That is the time when we start getting all the energy. That is when everything starts to come to life. Everything becomes energetic. Everything comes to life. So this Purusha is the energy, the Shakti, the strength, the power that empowers the entire universe. If you take the right Sh and use it as Ushayati rather than Shayati or Shayanat. Okay. So Purusha Sukta describes that this entire universe was created through a yajna. Now again, what is yajna? Typically we think yajna is, where we put some bricks and some wood and set fire and make some offerings. Now, again, we have to maintain the context. Context is creation of the universe. Now, if the universe is not yet created, this Purusha is creating the universe, there are no bricks, there is no wood, there are no oblations, nothing is available, right? So the yajna does not mean, in many contexts, in many texts, when there is a mention of yajna, it is not necessarily traditional yajna. Yajna is a process. You give something with your intent and you get something different out of it, different form out of it. That process of transformation is called yajna, and we are going to focus on that aspect of yajna. Okay. With that, we'll start with first mantra. The first mantra says, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishthad Dashangulam. So this is the description of that Purusha. The person who, the Purusha who started creating this universe, this is the description. We'll see the literal translation, we'll understand the misinterpretations, and we will understand scientific meaning or scientific aspects. Again, one more thing, I want to be very honest and upfront. I don't claim to be expert in Vedic literature, nor do I claim to be expert in Sanskrit language. I have taken references from lot of dictionaries, lot of different literatures, lot of commentaries to come up with my interpretation, which is with scientific mindset. Also, in the interest of time, we will not cover entire sukta in details. So I'm going to pick few mantras from the sukta, and we will analyze those. Okay. So the other part. So this sukta, this first mantra says, Sahasra Shirsha, a being with 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, and 1,000 legs. And he covers the entire universe and extends beyond the universe by 10 angula or 10 fingers or 10 inches. Now, when we look at this mantra, some devotee who has good artistic sense comes up with a visualization. He draws a male devata with thousands of heads, thousands of shastra and astra and weapons in his hand, and doing some creation kind of aspect. If you remember the cover slide of my presentation, a human shaped body was sitting there trying to do something. So all these are our interpretations or our visualizations, and you will see such visualizations in many situations, and those all lead to non-scientific misinterpretation of the original objective of that figure. Nataraj is one case, Vishnu sleeping on the serpent bed is one case, so many cases. We'll not go into that. So when I started reading this mantra, first of all, I wondered, why are they talking about only head, eyes, and legs? Why are they not talking about mouth and nose and ears and tummy and hands and so many other body parts, right? So there has to be some reason, some meaning to using only these three. Now, if we go back to the modern theory of creation of universe, the most common, most widely accepted theory is Big Bang theory. There are some limitations, some objections. Keeping those aside, Big Bang theory is the most commonly accepted theory. What does Big Bang theory say? There was an explosion, and through explosion, the universe came about. Now, this mantra describes a very similar concept. It says Sahasra Shirsha. What is Shirsha? Shirsha indicates individuality. Today also we say per head, right? So per head meaning for each individual. So this indicates that there were individual objects. When the universe was created, there were thousands of individual objects got created. And there are other suktas, other references. They talk about that explosion also, how the sound waves were there and they got compressed and how the explosion happened, and all those things are described somewhere else. So that explosion created these thousands of unique individual objects with Sahasra Aksha. Aksha is eyes. What do eyes indicate? Eyes indicate shine or luster or energy, right? When we look at somebody's eyes, we say, oh, such energetic eyes, such energetic person based on eyes, right? And eyes represent energy, spark, things like that. So these thousands of objects were glowing. Those were emitting light. Those were shining objects. So if we were to see then it is something like you see a burst of a firecracker, thousands of sparks come out of that blast and start going out. And those are very shiny sparks. It is very similar thing if you try to visualize this. And Sahasra Pata. Pata is thousands of legs. What do legs indicate? Legs indicate motion. So these objects were individual, unique objects. They were shining and those were traveling. Those were moving. That is what the first line says. And even if I'm saying objects or sparks, just for simplicity of understanding, to give some analogy, these were not like small objects. These were gigantic objects, and the descriptions say that probably their diameter was few light years. So those were really, really gigantic objects. Those got thrown out or those got created. Now that Purusha, in addition to that, Purusha Vishwato Vrutva, and still stays Dashangulam beyond the entire universe that is known to us. So what that means is he covers the entire universe. That Purusha covers the entire universe and goes beyond the known universe. Now this is also very simple and very logical. If somebody created an object, there needs to be space to create that object. And if it is constantly expanding, constantly moving, constantly growing, then there should be space in which that creation can grow. Like for example, if I try to blow a balloon, that balloon, this room is a space in which the balloon grows or it blows. If we try to keep a balloon in a small bottle and try to blow, it won't blow. It won't blow beyond size of that bottle or size of that container, right? Whereas the universe is constantly expanding, so somebody has to provide that space. Now, space also is the term we are using in current context. Of course, we say that space itself got created with the universe. But whatever that equivalent of space is, he provides that Purusha provides that space for the universe to form and to grow. And that Purusha itself, it covers that entire universe. And here the word says Dashangulam. So it extends by 10 angula or 10 inches. Now why 10 inches? Who has gone to measure that it is 10? Nobody, right? So 10 here indicates infinite. In decimal system, there are digits from 0 to 9. Anything that cannot be expressed in 0 to 9 can be treated as infinite. I see a lot of people are popping some messages. Yeah, you can do that, but we are going to discuss some question answer at the end. And also due to some typing limitations, you might see some mismatch or errors in the type itself. So don't focus on that. Let's focus on the scientific analysis. Thank you. Okay, so it extends much beyond the known universe that we understand, that we can fathom or we can realize. That is the first mantra says. So it describes the state at the time of that explosion, at the time of that blast, and how thousands of objects got created and started moving. Now, if the universe is created by this Purusha itself, and we know that there was no material available, there is no evidence, there is no scientific analysis which says, oh, there was some soil, he took that, there were a few trees, he took that and then combined and created something. No, there was nothing available. So whatever is created, Purusha himself manifested in all those forms. So whatever ever existed in the context of the universe, whatever exists today, and whatever is going to exist in future, that is nothing but different forms of this Purusha itself. Everything, Purusha eva idagam sarvam, sarvam, whatever you can interpret, analyze, understand, everything is nothing but this Purusha itself. Bhutam, whatever was there in the past, whatever is bhavyam is whatever going to happen in future. Everything is nothing but this form or manifestation of the Purusha itself. And this Purusha, he did not just create that blast, he did not just create that universe and just went back to sleep. No, that's not the case. So what it also does, he is the master. Ishana. Ishana is master of this whole universe. He governs, he controls endlessly, supports that universe, and provides required energy, required substance for the universe to sustain and grow. Yad annena atirohati. Anna is food. So when again we talk about food, we think about what are rice and bread and potatoes and stuff like that. That is not the case. Anna is any substance that supports sustenance and growth. For us as human beings, Anna is what I just mentioned, rice and bread and things like that. But for different species, Anna is different things. For this universe, Anna is different. And the Purusha provides that Anna. And again, if you read the book, there are little bit more details about what that Anna is, what the modern theory calls that, how it relates to what we today understand or today think as black energy, things of that nature. Those are explained much in details. We won't go into too many details again in the interest of time. Okay, but the important thing is this: for sustenance and growth of the universe, the Purusha provides everything that is required. Again, the last word says atirohati, which indicates growth, which means the universe is growing. Now today, if you look at different theories, there are theories that talk about expanding universe. So there is a theory of expanding universe. There are theories of contracting universe also. There is a theory of oscillating universe also. There are multiple theories. But as of today, the universe appears to be growing. And for the growth, this Purusha provides whatever is required for growth and of course sustenance of the universe. That is what we are talking about in this first, the second mantra. Now, as we go forward, it clarifies something else. It says, again, I'm just picking few aspects of the mantra. We won't go into every detail in the interest of time. It says, Padosya Vishwa Bhutani Tripadasya Mritan Divi. So Pado says, Pada is 1/4, 1/4. So it says this entire universe is just 1/4 of it, or just one small part of that Purusha. That's not everything that that Purusha had. He just took small part of itself and created the universe. The majority part of it, about 75%. Again, this 75% and 25% is just to give us an idea of a small portion and much bigger portion. But that much bigger portion is still unmanifest. It is still there. Maybe it will manifest other day. We don't know, right? But that Purusha has just taken small piece of it and then created the universe. Now, if something needs to be created, there needs to be material, there needs to be instruments, and there need to be creator, right? When you look at the pot, for example, the soil, the mitti, whatever you call it, that is the material. The potter's wheel and things like that, that is the equipment, and the potter himself is a creator. So any creation, these three causes need to exist. Now, when Purusha created this universe, nothing existed. So where did all these things come from? So Purusha himself became the material. He himself became required equipment, and he himself became the creator. And the process through which this raw material was processed using the instruments by the creator, that process is nothing but yajna. That process is described as yajna in various contexts, in various texts. Okay, we'll see few other mantras. We'll skip through few. Okay, so in this mantra, the sixth mantra, there is a mention about ritus, and it says that these ritus were created and those ritus were also offered in the yajna. Now, this also, when I was looking at it, I could not understand how can you capture a ritu? How can you get your hands around a ritu, hold it in your hands and offer it in the yajna? That's not possible, right? So here again, when they talk about three ritus, Vasanta, Grishma and Sharada. Vasanta is nothing but spring, Grishma is summer, and Sharad is autumn or fall season in North American lingo. So why are they talking about these three when most of the literature talks about 6 ritus? They are talking only about 3 ritus. So we have to again understand it in right context. It says the spring was ghee. It was offered as ghee. How can I offer one season as a ghee? Then the summer season was offered as fuel and autumn season was the oblation. Now, how does that work? So this does not talk, or this does not mean any ritus that we understand today. It has nothing to do with spring, summer, autumn, winter, nothing. What this really talks about is 3 aspects of creation, which is creation, sustenance, and destruction. So spring is the season when the trees will start to bloom, the flowers bloom, the entire nature comes to life. So that livelihood, that coming to life aspect is described by formation of spring aspect. Then the summer indicates sustenance. Summer gives us all the energy. Everybody is energetic, enthusiastic. We do a lot of activities in summer, right? So this activity is the growth aspect, the sustenance aspect is indicated by summer. And what happens in autumn or fall or Sharad? All the leaves fall down and the entire nature appears as if everything is dead. So that destruction aspect is indicated by autumn. So basically in this mantra it says that along with creation of the universe, the mechanism of creation, sustenance, and destruction also got created. And that mechanism is very important because without that mechanism, nothing can really exist. We cannot imagine that we have a person who is born and never died. Everything that exists, and I mean everything that exists has defined lifespan. And it may not be defined in our context. We may not know it, we may not understand it, but it has a lifespan. After that lifespan, it will get destroyed. And that aspect, that anything that the Purusha has created, anything that is part of the universe, it gets created, it gets maintained, it grows, it becomes stronger, and eventually it dies. So that aspect is described in this mantra. This is not really describing conventional seasons that we talk about today or that we understand today. Also, this is a very important mantra. And again, one aspect I'm going to touch upon, 2 aspects in this mantra. One is it says Trisapta Samidha Krutaha. Trisapta, that means 3 and 7 or 3 times 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Now, again, as I was reading, I thought, why did they say 3 times 7 if they wanted to say 21? There is a word for 21. They could have just said 21 samidhas. But then I understood that they are not talking about 21. They are talking about 3 sets of 7 each. Whatever those things are, and we'll see that. So in the part of this process of creation, and now this is relating more to solar system and earth. We skipped few mantras in between. So now it is more relating to earth and some aspects of our solar system. So there are 21 aspects, but those 21 aspects are divided into 3 groups of 7 each that contributed towards formation and sustenance of the earth. And that is why they are using the word Trisapta and not using the word 21. If you use traditional commentary, they talk about different combinations, sense organs, perception organs, mind, body, intellect, all those things they add up and say, oh, these are 21. But then those texts don't explain why Trisapta is called and not 21. And how do those things that they interpret, how those are related to creation aspect? They are not able to explain that. So here what we are talking about, those 3 aspects, and I'll briefly touch upon those. The first is the entire solar system, apart from Earth, there are 7 other objects, planets and sun. So sun, moon, and other planets. They provide right balance of gravitational forces, which helps each other to stay in their orbit. And it is a proven fact. So those 7 objects is one set of 7, right? 7, including sun, moon, and other planets. The second set of 7 is this energy or light that we get from sun. It has 7 different components, and we won't go into those details right now, but those 7 different components, 7 different types of sun rays, that is second set. And the third set is different types of energies, including there is a clear mention of infrared, ultraviolet, electricity, and things like that. So all those, and they're clearly mentioned, very scientifically mentioned, nothing imaginary or fantasizing here, nothing mythical about it, very scientific details. Again, in the book, I have mentioned all those in details, but those 3 sets of 7 contributed and continue to contribute towards sustenance formation of the earth. Then I am going to touch upon last part, which says Abadnan Purusham Pashum. Again, many people interpret that as a Pashu or an animal was sacrificed in the yajna. Now this leads to a lot of confusion, lot of questions, lot of different things that your scriptures promote animal sacrifice, which is absolutely not right. Let's not go everywhere else. Stay in the context again. What is this Pashu? We are still talking, this mantra is still talking about earth itself is being formed. If earth itself is not yet formed, the subsequent mantras talk about creation of life on the earth. So no life is created. Earth itself is in the process of creation. Which animal? Which animal are you sacrificing? Which animal are you killing? Where? It doesn't make any sense. It is absolutely not logical. So when we again talk about this, we have to understand different meanings. Each word has multiple meanings. We have to understand right meaning in the right context. So Pashu, one of the meaning of Pashu is also soul or Atman, right? Or the Purusha itself. So Purusha itself sacrificed itself in the yajna, which again was Purusha itself, which was being conducted by Purusha himself, and provided the material for this yajna and for this creation. So the Pashu here is not a literal animal, but the context is Purusha himself offered himself completely and created this universe. Okay, we'll go to what time is it? Okay, this is again one mantra which again leads to lot of criticism, lot of misunderstanding. So the previous mantra says, okay, if you're talking about Purusha, now again here they are trying to imagine that in the form of a human body or in the human form. And the question is, okay, when that Purusha converted himself into different aspects of the universe, what happened to his mukha or his mouth? What happened to his arms? What happened to his thighs? What happened to his legs? What did different parts of that Purusha's body, how did they manifest? What did they manifest into? And the answer goes into next few mantra. So it says, Brahmanosya mukhamasi, the mouth became Brahmins. Rajanya or Kshatriya, they were made from his arms. Thighs were turned into Vaishya, and Shudras were born from his feet. It again says, oh, okay, so now you are promoting Varnashram. Unfortunately, they don't even say Varnashram. They say caste system. This is no caste system. This has nothing to do with caste system. Again, this is very initial part of formation of the life on the earth. How can there be humans and how can they start categorizing themselves, right? So again, this is not talking about different race definitely, or even Varna system. What this is talking about is for sustenance of a jiva, of any creature, including human, there are few aspects that are required. And those aspects were created and those were instilled into each living being so they can survive. The mukha and head indicates knowledge. So for survival, everybody needs some knowledge, how to go about something, right? And even we see that even the microorganisms, they have knowledge. They may not have brain that we think of. They may not have an explicit body organ called brain, but they have intelligence of doing certain things which they are supposed to do, right? So that aspect of life is called Brahman. Then everybody has desire to live, a desire to struggle. If we don't get food, we will run around, we'll climb on the tree, pluck the fruits, do whatever. If we see some threat, we will run around or we'll attack, we'll run away or attack, right? So all these aspects which are related to physical strength, those are interpreted, or those are indicated rather, by the Rajanya quality or Kshatriya quality. So those qualities were also instilled. Vaishya are traders, businessmen, right? And Vaishya indicate two qualities. One is accumulation of wealth and trading of material. Now for our sustenance also, we accumulate food, we accumulate energy in our body and use that body when required. We give that energy for different activities. So those aspects are indicated by Vaishya, and Shudra indicates the physical activity like walking, running, cutting the trees and building the house or whatever, those kind of activities which are required again for sustenance of every jiva or every creature. Those activities or those aspects are indicated by Shudra. Nothing to do with any caste system, nothing to do even with Varnashram system at this stage, in my opinion. Okay. So basically, as the Purusha was creating life on the earth, he made sure that there is creation, sustenance, and destruction. And while they are in the create phase, or when they exist, there are those four aspects which will help them in their survival. That is what those mechanisms were created and instilled in different creatures, so that the life can be formed and life can go on. Quick time check. Okay. This again talks how moon got became mind, and from his eyes, sun was born. From his mouth, fire and other controls were born. The breath was born from the Vayu. And so there are all the detailed descriptions and very, very scientific. Similarly, it says the directions were born from ears. So again, when we talk about, okay, the sun was born from his eyes, the directions were born from his ears, how does it really work? Directions are not born. There is not one place from which all the directions were born and went everywhere. So when they say that directions are born, it means the sense of direction is born through ears, and that is true even with the modern science. Our ears they have a organ or apparatus, whatever you call it, in our ear called labyrinth, that gives us sense of direction. So it can distinguish between intensity of sound from two ears and decide the direction. So that sense of direction came from ears. That is what it means when it says directions were born through ears. Okay. So those are, again, important thing is we need to study all the mantra, study all the text with right context, and use the right meanings of the word which are relevant to that context, and not the conventional meanings or random meanings. That leads to a lot of misunderstanding and confusion. These literatures, these scriptures are thousands of years of old. So when those were written or initially understood, they had very scientific meaning. Over the period of thousands of years, that real meaning got lost, and which continued to follow that in a literal way and in a ritual way, which is not bad, but that does not give us right information, and it leads to a lot of criticism and a lot of misunderstanding. And that is a very unfortunate thing about our heritage, that most of the things, even my kids, they go to school here in US and they get questioned, oh, how come you're a monkey god, and how come, and various things like that. And we don't make any attempt to understand the reality. We never read Valmiki Ramayana, and we also promote misconceptions and misunderstandings and pass those on through generations. So this is one of my attempts to try to understand what the scientific aspect and scientific meanings and interpretations could be, and not get carried away by literal meanings or traditional meanings or conventional meanings. So with that, I just wanted to conclude. As I said, we'll cover about 45 minutes. We have crossed those 45 minutes, and we'll keep a few minutes to different questions that you might have. Again, don't point out text errors in the presentation. I know those, and I had some limitations with Devanagari typing and things like that. So let's not go there. Let's focus on the core content. Also, this is the book that explains all these aspects in much more details, and a lot of scholars have given their inputs and their commentary. And the book is available on Amazon in many regions. You can order. I'll highly encourage you read the book. It will answer probably many of your questions. And there is my contact information in the book also, or you will get it here also. You can feel free to reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to understand your perspectives and correct my perspectives if those are wrong at any point. So Prasadji, with that, I will stop for now, and we'll open for questions.
Excellent, Paragji. Very good. The book looks super interesting. Definitely worth a buy. There's no doubt about it. And the glimpse of the book, with a few slides or few examples you gave, definitely would drive people to buy the book and read all about what you have written. Excellent work. We have a question from Yadu Mohorir. Yaduji, please go ahead.
Yes, you started saying about the difference between mantra and shloka. The correct word should be richa, not the mantra.
Yes, in Rigved they are called richa. You are right.
Yes, so that should be the first correction I would like to point out. And in general, it has what you have tried to give, and I do understand them. And there are lots of other interpretations from Sayana to everywhere now. And I hope you had a chance to read Satavalekar's book also, Purusha Sukta. That gives because when you said Brahmanasya Mukham Asid, the earlier mantra is Mukham Kimasya Kau Bahu. Kauru, Kapada Uchete. So he's asking the question, what is that represents to? So when the Samaj was formed, the Samaj is the face. So Brahmanas are the face for that Samaj. That is what they were trying to say. And Pada is the foundation. If one looks at a foundation, regardless whether it is a human being or an industry or anywhere, that pada is the foundation. Without that foundation, nothing can be done. Means you may have an industry, you may have a patent, you have money, but if you don't have workers to work with, the pada which is necessary to proceed it cannot work. So just something to think about.
You're right. And that goes well when you are interpreting Chaturvarne. This is, in my understanding, this is not interpretation of Chaturvarne because the Samaj is not formed yet when that mantra comes, right? So yes, in Bhagavad Gita, when you say Chaturvarne Maya Srishtam, yes, that time you can interpret and give those meanings, and those are absolutely right. And there are even much complex or much deeper meanings which are very, very relevant and practical even to Chaturvarnya. And if you are interested, we can talk offline about those. But in my understanding, this mantra is not talking about Chaturvarnya yet because the Samaj or the society is not formed. Anyway, we'll go to next question. I'm not cutting you off. I just want to give opportunity to others, and you can reach out to me one-on-one.
Sorry, Mahendraji, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor, for an excellent presentation.
I'm not a professor. Thank you.
Semantics aside, it was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you, what has the part played by the Western societies in terms of plagiarizing ideas from our Hindu scriptures and then translating into their own particular scientific language? Is there any truth in that the Western societies have taken a lot from Sanatana Dharma and our scriptures? What is your personal experience of is there any truth in that?
Very good question. Very good question. So again, I don't want to be very critical about it. I want to honestly appreciate, because unfortunately, we, in spite of having this scripture next to us for years and years and years, we have used it only to keep it in the puja room or whatever, or worship and prayer place, and put Gandha and Akshata every day on that. Beyond that, many of us don't do anything with those scriptures, right? Whereas these Western people have made a sincere attempt to analyze it, understand it, and make some sense out of it. And yes, when they understood, they might have stolen some ideas, okay, but hey, we had it next to us. What did we do with it? Why are we complaining about them doing something that we did not do? So yes, there are few examples, few rumors and combination of Western society interpreting these scriptures and making claims of those as their discoveries. But okay, when there is time, there are scholars who cross-reference different texts and prove that it is not their discovery, it is there in some of the scriptures. But if they're doing it, in a way, I'm happy about it, because we are ignoring it. Somebody is at least making an attempt.
Thank you. Aritra Ghosh, please go ahead. Can you unmute yourself first?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So, very much I want to thank Mr. Parag sir for this wonderful presentation he have given, and this has helped me a lot in writing an essay which is regarding the origin of this universe and this life, the evolution of life in this universe. So, sir, can you please throw light on the fifth mantra, which basically relates to the multiplication of the Purusha to form multiple copies of itself. So can we just draw a comparison between this and the quasar which is there in the Oparin Haldane model of evolution of life or the creation of life in the chemical based evolution, which refers to the ultimate biological formation of life? And it is also been proved in the Miller-Urey experiment. So can you just throw light in this thing? Am I correct or not?
Yes, you are correct. First of all, thank you and congratulations for taking such initiative. Very, very interesting and important. Also, I will recommend that there are few other sukta, Nasadiya Sukta, Narayan Sukta, and of course Purusha Sukta. You can refer to those. You will get a few more insights. Fifth mantra, again, not to go into too much details in the interest of time, but what it is talking about is how different forms came into existence. So from that Purusha, the Virat Purusha or Viraj Purusha came up. From that Viraj, the Adhi Purusha came, and that Adhi Purusha then further transformed himself into creating earth, then land on the earth, and then specific islands, not islands, continents on the earth. But again, please note down my email address. I would be very interested in understanding what you are writing and what your interpretations are, and if at all possible, add some value to that.
So in the Bhagavad Gita, or when reciting the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna showed Arjuna the Virat Purusha form of his. Would that be related to this in any way?
It may or may not be. Again, the important thing to understand, Prasadji, is we as devotee-oriented people, bhakti-oriented people, we try to personify everything. So you will see whenever there is a mention of Vishwarup Darshan, you will see a Krishna figure in the middle and thousands of things coming around him and things like that. Is that really the form Arjun saw? Nobody knows, because nobody saw that form. I don't think, again, there are different arguments. I don't think it was a visual form. It was an intellectual form that Arjun realized, or Arjun kind of saw it without, physical sight. So we don't know. But is it same? Maybe yes, but it might be in the current state, in the sense how this Purusha is currently supporting the sustenance and growth of the earth. It will be more in that context than the historic context where that explosion happened and the universe was being created.
Excellent. So I'd like to thank you again, Paragji, for bringing this topic up, and looks like an excellent book. And looking forward to reading the book again, purchasing and reading the book. And
Absolutely.
hopefully you'll come back with a different set of slides and different set of ruchas to present to us next time.
Absolutely.
So with them, I appreciate you coming, and thank you everyone for joining as well. Thank you.
Appreciate you inviting me. I had a great time with our wonderful audience. Have a great day or great night, depending on where you are.